The next thing you need to do is cut the corners. I like to joke that I get to cut corners. You just want to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from your stitching. See what that looks like. Can you see it? Come on, focus. There we go. No, focus. My camera doesn't like me at the moment. There we go. And what this does is this just keeps the bulk down to a minimum so that when you turn it, you don't have quite so much fabric stuffed up in there. Turn the autofocus back on. Makes for sharper corners. We like sharp corners. I'm not a big fan of round tabs, only because they're a little bit harder to sew when they're rounded. But if you like the rounded tabs, I recommend that when you cut your corners, you just trim all the way around that circle, that round part. Just trim it back pretty good. If you're not planning on top stitching, don't trim quite as close as I'm trimming right now. I like to top stitch pretty much everything I do. So I trim pretty close. Okay. We've trimmed all 4 corners. Next we need to mark for our elastics. Let's go back over to the cutting table. If your pattern already has marks for the elastics, you're lucky. Just follow those marks. My pattern has the marks already, so I'm lucky. If you do not have marks for your elastics on your pattern, or if you're just making this up as you go along, I recommend on the front of the diaper going to about that first row of rise snaps. So mine will end up being here. You'll go to, here's that first row of rise snap. The reason being is when this all gets snapped up, you'll actually be folding this part of the fabric. If you have elastic in there, it's going to be really bulky. So just go there. And then on the back side, you'll want to go all the way to the tabs. So as soon as it makes that final turn up to the tab, put a mark. Across the back, you'll want about 6 inches or so. And you want it centered. That's it. Pretty simple. What I do once I get that done is I transfer that to the outside of the diaper. Just transfer these marks to the outside. Because once we turn this, we're not going to be able to see those marks anymore. So I'm transferring them with the fabric marker so that they can be erased later. Alright, so now we're going to turn it. Grab a pointy object. Folks, I've heard people using all kinds of pointy things. Radio antennas, chopsticks, special turning tools. You could probably use the end of your scissors if your scissors look like mine, because that's pretty blunt and still pointy. You want it blunt and pointy. You don't want it sharp and pointy. So something like the owl that you used for the snaps, that's actually too sharp. That would poke a hole in it. So the screwdriver that comes with your snap pliers, actually what I use is screwdriver. Use whatever pointy object you like. So I'm just getting this turned. And into the corners, I'll stick the screwdriver up in there and square off the corners as tight as I can. Now you'll know that you cut it too close if you accidentally shove your screwdriver all the way through. Then you'll have to turn it back, sew it a little bit more, and try again. It's not the end of the world. Don't scrap it. It still works. There we go. Nice and sharp points. So that's what that looks like. Let's go ahead and case our elastics now so we can start putting our elastic in.